Welcome to Python tutorial. In this video I will discuss data modeling in Python. For explanation purpose I will be using SQLite database server for data modeling. The real power of relational database is when we create multiple number of tables and make links between those tables. So till now whatever we have discussed, we have created a single table. Within that particular table we have added some different number of attributes, and we did inserted some data, and we have performed some different operations like updating the data, deleting the data which is present in the table, and deleting the entire table, and so on. So whatever the things we have done till now is we have done everything on a single table. So now actually when it comes to relational database system, we need to have multiple number of tables, and then we need to link those particular tables using some primary and foreign keys. The act of deciding how to break up your application data, that is a single table into multiple number of tables, and establishing the relation between the tables is called the data modeling. Okay, so how you divide your table into multiple number of tables, and establishing the relationship between those tables, that is multiple tables, is called as data modeling in Python. The design document that shows the tables and their relationships is called as data model. Okay, so when you divide your table into multiple number of tables, so we will create one document. That document is called as actually design document, and that design document which shows the relationship between the multiple tables is called as a data model, or sometimes it is called as a schema diagram also. When it comes to data modeling, it is relatively a sophisticated skill. You may not be understand, or you may not be able to do the data modeling in 1 or 2 days. You need to be very experienced person, or you can say that you need to practice it, how to divide a single table or a big table into multiple number of tables, and then establish the relationship between them. Okay. In this lecture video I will not be going through the in detail steps of dividing a table into multiple number of tables. I'll be explaining most of the basic concepts of relational data modeling over here, because when it comes to data modeling we need to understand the normalizations, like one normal form, 2NF, 3NF, BCNF, and so on. So that is a very huge topic that we don't consider here. Primary objective of this lecture video is to understand how can we divide the multiple number of tables into a single table into multiple number of tables, and how to establish the relationship. And we write one very simple program to understand how can we use multiple tables into the Python. So that is what the primary objective of this particular video is all about. Now in the previous video lecture we have studied the Twitter spider application, where what we did is we have extracted the friends information, and then once we extracted the friends information of a particular user, that friends information was stored into a database table, and later for every friend the friends information was extracted. For example, you have inserted 5 friends into a database. We take the first friend and then his friends information is extracted, and those friends were inserted into database if they are new. If the friend is already present into the database, the same row was updated with friends column was incremented by 1. So the meaning of this one is that particular friend is appearing in 2 users. So that is the meaning. So for example, we take the second friend and then we extract the friends of that second friend, and we insert all the new friends into the table, and if already a friend is present into the table, the friends column value will be incremented. So if you go on doing this particular thing, at one point we will get a table which consists of friends, and there is a column called as a friends column. Depending on the value of that particular friends column, we can understand who is most popular in that particular can say that a group. So if you want to understand that particular thing, I just take one very simple example and give you that particular thing. Let us say that actually that particular table consists of three things. One is called as name, and then the second column is something called as retrieved, and then the third column it contains is the friends. That is this is the second and third one are integer values. Okay. Now what we do over here is, let us say that I will try to check the friends of Mahesh. Let us say that this is the username. Okay, this is the username. The username I will give to my program is Mahesh. Now when I give Mahesh as a can say that the username, his friends will be identified. Let us say that his friends are, the first friend is Rahul. Okay, so he will be inserted into the database and the retrieved value will be set to 0. Initially he is a friend to Mahesh, so this is 1. And later I will try to find another friend. Let us say that I am trying to find two friends. Sachin is the one more friend. It is retrieved will be set to 0 and his friends value will be set to 1 again. One more I will take. Let us say that Saurav, and then I will set the value is equivalent to 0 and it will be set to 1. Now let us say that I have given Mahesh as the input, that is a screen name, and for this particular Mahesh I have identified how many friends are there. So I have extracted 3 friends information. Now what I do is I will check the second column. The second column is set to 0. The meaning of this one is these are the friends of Mahesh. These friends were not yet retrieved. That's the meaning of retrieved here. And what is the meaning of friends is equivalent to 1? These are the friends of Mahesh. So this will appear one time now here. Now in the next iteration what I do here is I may enter one more username. Let us say that some XYZ, and that XYZ user friends will be identified and retrieved. It will be stored into this table. That may be the one case. Otherwise I don't enter any username here. If I don't enter any username, you will take the first we will get the first username from this particular table. What is the first username in this case? It is Rahul. Okay, so Rahul is the first username. Now when you get the Rahul, the first username, what we do here is we will try to extract his friends. So if you try to extract his friends, his value will be set to, retrieved value will be set to 1 here. The meaning of this one is we have extracted the Rahul's friends and assume that the first friend is Sachin. So whether Sachin is already present into the database? Yes. So what we do over here is we will increment this particular value by 2. The meaning of this one is Sachin is a friend of Mahesh as well as Rahul. Let us assume that the second friend of Rahul is Virat, which is not present in this case. So we will insert that particular thing as a new friend and then we will put the friend's value as 1 because this is the first time he has become a friend. Now who is the third friend of Rahul? Assume that Rohit. So that will be put into as a new because it is not present into your database, and then the value will be set to 1. So we got the 3 friends of Rahul. Now what we do? We will go to the next iteration. Next iteration I don't take the Rahul because Rahul's retrieved value is set to 1. His friends were already retrieved. Now I go to Sachin. So Sachin is the new username now. His friends will be extracted. Okay. So let us assume that his first friend is Rahul. So what happens here? Rahul's friend count will be incremented by 1. And Sachin's friend is Saurav. That is, the friends count will be incremented by 1. And then the third friend is, you can say that, assume that the third friend is Dhoni. So what actually happens here? It is not available in this case. So it will be inserted into the database as a new entry here. So we got the 3 friends of Sachin. And then Sachin's friends were retrieved, so we will set this particular thing to 1, and the same thing will be repeated for all the friends. At one end we will get we will stop this particular thing and we will see this particular column, and depending on the value of this particular column we can say that who is the most popular in this case. So this is how actually the Twitter spider program or the concept looks like. Now, what we are trying to do in this case is, this is what actually the spider application. Now, we just wanted to modify that particular table. That table consists of actually three things. One is the name, and the second one was retrieved, and the third one was friends. I want to remove that particular friends column because I'm not interested in checking out who is most, you can say that, popular and all. I just want to divide that particular table into multiple tables, so I'll remove that particular thing. That's the first thing. And the second thing what I want to do is I want to check who is following whom. So if you look at this particular thing, now only it's very difficult to say who is following whom. Initially, you can say that Rahul was the Mahesh was the person, and his friends were retrieved. After that, Rahul was taken, and then his friends were retrieved, and then the Sachin's friends were retrieved. Now it's very difficult to say who is following who. It's very difficult. Okay, because we don't know whether this particular two came for Rahul or Sachin. This particular two came for Rahul or Sachin, or this one for Rahul or Sachin. It's very difficult to say. So in this particular case, what I'll do here is I will try to add one extra, you can say that, a table. That particular table I'll say it as a PALS, and then I will take two attributes. One is called as from friend, and one more is to friend. So from friend is the original person, and to friend is whom he is following, or who is the his friends. So that is what the thing. So for example, if Mahesh is the person, and his we can say that Rahul is his friend. So Mahesh and Rahul, that is the first row. And the second thing is Mahesh and Sachin are friends. So Mahesh, Sachin, and then the third one is Mahesh. We can say that is Saurav. So that is how the things will be there. So that is how actually this particular table looks like. So this is the original person, and his friend name will be present here. The from friend, whatever we have, it will be repeated continuously, or you can say that this particular thing will be repeated in the sense what, redundantly added in this case. Okay, so how it looks, if you want, I just show you here. That particular table may look something like this. So I want to take only what, from I can say that from, and then to. So from friend to friend. So that is how the thing. So initially Mahesh was the person, his friend is what, Rahul. So that will be put here. And then second one is what, again Mahesh is the friend, his Mahesh is the username, his friend is what, Sachin. So that will be present here. Now third one is what, you can say that again Mahesh. Okay, and then who is his friend? His friend is Saurav. So again it will be put over here. Now what has happened in this particular case is we have created, what is the table? The table name is PALS, this particular table, and this particular table's problem is the data is repeated here, or redundantly present in this case. So that's a problem. So to avoid this particular problem, we need to avoid this particular problem somehow. So for that reason, what we do is we will create okay, so you can see here, that is what actually has been done here. Just an example, Dr. Check and Lawthron is the person. If you insert it, it will be the Dr. Check will be inserted first, and then second one, third one, fourth one. If you insert 20 times, this one will be present 20 times. So from friend. So that is what actually I shown over there. So Mahesh was present 3 times. So if you use this particular thing, and if you do this for 20 times this particular name will be present in the first column, and this one will be different for different friends. So how to avoid it? That's the next question. Okay, so this is the problem with what we can say that the normal table, and this will what we can say that one of the main characteristics of database or database normalization is we should not have a redundant data. That is what actually it says. So how to avoid it? That's the next question. We need to avoid somehow. There should be some solution, but we need to identify it. Okay, so to avoid that particular thing, we need to add something called as primary key, and then what we can say that something called as foreign keys, and then we need to establish the relationship between those two things over there. So what we do over here is rather than what we can say that creating a table called as Twitter, which consists of name and second one is retrieved, and the third one was you can say that the friends column. What we do is first we will create a table called as people. It consists of what we can say that two things. One is called as the text, that is a name, and the second one is retrieved. These are the only two things we will introduce. And the third thing we introduce is something called as id. Id is nothing but the primary key in this case, and as and when we go on in inserting some values, this id will be incremented. For example, the first time the id will be 1 when you insert the first row. When you insert one more row into this particular table, the id will be incremented to 2, and so on. So this is not been inserted explicitly, it will be done internally. Automatically this particular key value or the id value will be incremented, and it is a primary key of this particular table. And the second thing is, you can say that the name is what, the username or the name of that particular person. So that person name is of type text here, and then it is unique. Unique means what, you should not repeat this particular name value. And the second attribute is retrieved, and it is of integer type. The third attribute we have removed. What was the third attribute? It was friends in that case. So we have removed that particular thing here. Now what is the another table we create is, rather than creating follows, we create something else. Before that, what is the advantage of using this primary key as integer? So that is what we try to understand. If you consider integer primary key for the id column, what we are trying to say is this one is of integer type, and it takes very less what we can say that the amount of memory. But if you try to insert of string type, definitely it will be of more, it will take more memory. So to avoid that particular thing, we have taken integer primary key. So that is the one thing we need to understand here. Okay, now what is the thing we do is, we will create one more table. The name of the table is follows here. Again, rather than inserting the name of the friend and his friend, we use the id of that particular friend and his friend. So that is what actually we are doing. So in the earlier case, PALS table, we have used from friend and then to friend. Both of them are string type. So rather than using string type, if I use string type, definitely it takes more memory. So to avoid that particular thing, we can create something called as integer IDs. So the friend ID and his friend's ID will be the second one, and together these two, that is from ID and to ID, will become the unique, that's unique key of this particular table. Okay, so this is how actually the two tables looks like. So once again I'll try to explain the two table. The first table name is people. In the earlier case, we used to call this one as Twitter, consisting of three attributes. One was name, retrieved, and the third one was friends. In this case, we have retained only two attributes. The first attribute is name and second attribute is retrieved. And this primary key value, that is the ID integer primary key, this will be automatically incremented, so we don't need to worry about this particular thing. Okay. So as and when we insert some data into this people's table, it will be incremented automatically. So we have ultimately we have only two attributes here. One is name, another one is retrieved. Name is of type unique. We cannot insert the same name multiple number of time. For example, Mahesh is a username, so you should not insert Mahesh multiple number of time. It should be present one. If it is another one is Rahul, it should be inserted only once. You should not insert it multiple number of time. And the second one is retrieved, whether that person's friends were retrieved or not. So initially it will be 0. Once you retrieve the friends, then it will be set to 1, and so on. Okay. And similarly for follows table, in follows table we use two what we can say that attribute, from ID and to ID. Both of them are integer, and together these two will become a unique ID of this particular follows table. Okay, and we will establish the connection between what we can say that the ID field of people with respective to ID field of what we can say that the create table. So that is how we can establish the connection in this case. Okay, so it's a very simple way of establishing the connection. Now you can see this particular diagram so that you can easily understand here. This is the follows table consisting of from ID and to ID, and this is the people table consisting of ID. It is automatically incremented, as I told you earlier, 1 2 3 4, because 4 rows are there. Name is the name of the friend, and retrieved, whether his friends were retrieved or not. It is set to 1, the meaning is his friends were already retrieved. The second friend retrieved is set to 1, means his friends are also been retrieved, and third one is also set to 1, the meaning of this one is his friends were also been retrieved already. Now if you look at the fourth friend, that is Steve Coffin, it is set to 0, the meaning of this one is his friends were not yet retrieved. So that is a very simple way of understanding it. Now if you look at this particular thing, what we can do over here is we can understand the relationship between these two things. So the ID is a primary key of people, which is mapped with, or you can say that the from ID of follows. So whatever the ID we have here, it will be the same ID over here. This is the friend ID and this is the friend ID. His friend's ID is nothing but to ID. Okay, from ID is nothing but was actual user. His friends are present in to ID. So whatever the ID we have here, it is equivalent to this particular from ID. So in the earlier case, what we were having here is Dr. Check, Dr. Check, Dr. Check were added 3 times, and these 3 were present as different names. That's a string type. Because of that, it was taking more memory over there. To avoid that particular thing, we have introduced integer keys in this case, or integer IDs. That is the only thing we need to understand. Okay, so PALS table, whatever I have created, if you just want to understand it once again, I just go back here. If you look at this particular PALS table, here we have 2 things again, from friend to friend, both of them are of text type. If you insert Dr. Check and his friend, it will be the first row. Dr. Check, his friend, that will be second row. Dr. Check, his friend will be third row, and so on. So Dr. Check was repeated multiple number of time. Because of that, what was happening? Because of that, we were end up with what we can say that a multiple number of rows with the same name in the first column. So that is a redundancy. So to avoid that particular redundancy or duplicating, we have introduced this particular technique. What we have done? We have introduced something called as integer IDs, and here also definitely one is repeated multiple number of time, but it will take less memory compared to Dr. Check if you write it over here. If you take it as a text type, it will be the name of the friend and his friend's name will be present here. So if you write text over here, it takes more memory, and if you write integer number, definitely it takes less memory. So that is the main intention over here. And if you want to understand this particular thing, you can see here Dr. Check follows. Dr. Check is following whom? This particular 1 is following whom? 2 3 4. 2 is what? This is the person. 3 is what? This person. 4 is what? This person. So he is following these particular 3 persons over here. So that is how actually I can understand these particular tables. Now what we need to do is we need to write one program to do this particular task. So what we need to do is we need to read the username, whatever it may be, like let us say that Dr. Check. So initially I am telling you, and then we need to insert that Dr. Check into this particular table with ID is equivalent to 1 and retrieved is equivalent to 0 initially. And then using TWURL, we need to extract the friends of this particular Dr. Check. Once you extract the friends, we need to set retrieved is equivalent to 1, and then his friends need to be inserted into this particular table. So what is the first friend? Open content. Now once you insert this particular thing, this retrieved will be set to 0 initially, and he will be given one ID. This is the ID of what? Dr. Check friend. Who is the username? First of all, Doctor. So what is the ID of Dr. Check? 1. So 1 and 2 will be inserted into follows table. And then the second friend will be extracted from Dr. Check. Assume that this is the second friend. It will be set to 0, and the ID of this second friend is what? 3 in this case. The ID of second friend is 3. What is the main ID? That is the Dr. Check. What is the ID of his? 1. So 1 3 will be inserted into follows table. The same thing for the third friend. Third friend is what? Steve Coffin, and his retrieved value will be set to 0 initially, and then the Steve Coffin's ID is 4 and Dr. Check ID is 1. 1 4 will be inserted into follows table. Similarly, it will be done for all the friends of Dr. Check. Once the Dr. Check information is over, we will read the next person from this particular table. What is the next person? Open content. So open contents friends information will be extracted, and then they will be inserted into this particular people's table. Assume that the open contents third friend is XYZ, his ID is equivalent to 5. So what will be inserted into follows? His friend ID is 5, the open content ID is 2, so 2 comma 5 will be inserted into follows table, and so on. So this is how actually it looks like. So when we go to that particular program, I'll just take one simple example rather than taking this doctor check and all. I will take one very simple example to explain this particular thing once again. Okay, so what we do is we'll try to understand the program. I'll go to my editor and show you how actually this particular program looks like. Now what is the first thing we need to do here is we need to start with what we can say that the libraries. So first we'll try to import the library called URL lib.request. As I earlier told you, URL lib.request is used to extract the content of a particular web page. In this case, we need to pass in URL to this one, and then it will give you the content of that particular web page. So we need the friends information in this case. So standard URL for extracting the friends information is this one. So that is this is the standard URL. If you pass this standard URL directly to this particular URL lib.request, you will end up with what is that called as unauthorized access or authentication failed. So what we need to do is we need to append something to this. What is that? What is the friend? What is the username? That is the first thing we need to append. What is the number of friends information you want to extract? Along with that, we need to append the security APIs like consumer key, consumer secret, API key, and API secret. So how can we do that thing? As I told you earlier, we need to use the TWURL to do that particular thing. So now we will use the function augment that is present in TWURL, and then we will create a complete URL. So that URL will be passed as a parameter to URL lib.request, and then you will be able to extract the friends information. Okay, so that is the reason for using these two things. And the return value of what we can say that Twitter is in the form of JSON. So we need to use JSON library to pass that particular content. And the next one is something called as SQLite 3. We are going to create some database, and then we want to store the friends information. So we need SQLite 3 database system in this case. Next, what we have done is we have set a Twitter URL to the standard URL, and then we have created one database. We are trying to connect to the database. What is the database in this case? Friends.SQLite using connect function of SQLite 3. If we are able to connect to this particular database, it's fine. The meaning is the database is already present. If the database is not present, what actually happens is a new database will be created with the name passed as a parameter to connect. So once either it is connected to the existing database or a new database is created, it will be like a file to our program. What we need to do is we need to open that particular database, and then we can perform some different operations like we can insert some data into that particular table. We can retrieve the rows from that particular table, as well as we can update or delete some of the data from that particular table. So to do that particular thing, we need something called as cursor function. So what cursor function does, it will open that particular database. Now once you open that particular database, we have connected to the database. Now we open that particular database. So once you open that particular database using cursor function, it will return you a value. That handler will be stored into CUR here. So from here onwards, if you want to do any operation on that particular database, we need to use CUR. Using CUR, we can execute different SQL queries, like we can create a table, we can insert some data into the table, we can select the data from that particular table, we can update the data which is present into the table, as well as we can delete the data from that particular table, and so on. All those things can be performed using this return value of cursor function. So what is the return value of cursor function in this case? The return value of cursor function is CUR. Now I use cur function, and then what I do here is I will execute some of the queries. What is the first query I will execute is I will create the people table. As we have already discussed, people table contains three attributes, but actually there are only two attributes. The first attribute is the id, which is of integer type, and it is called as a primary key in this case. The second one is name, which is of type text, and it should be unique. You should not repeat this particular name into your database. And the next one is something called as retrieved, that is whether this particular person's friends were retrieved or not. So that is the thing. Initially it will be set to 0. Once the friends of this particular person were retrieved, this value will be set to 1 in that case. And the next table is something called as follows table. We create this particular table follows. It consists of two attributes. One is called as from id and another one is called as to id. Both of them are of type integer. Now what we need to do over here is we need to create our unique id, that is from id and unique id. Both together will become what we can say that a unique key of this particular table. While creating these two tables, we have used something called as if not exist. If you notice this particular thing, what it says is if this particular people table is not present into the database, create it, otherwise don't create it. Similarly for second table also, if follows table is not present, create it, that is if not exist follows, create it, otherwise don't create it. So that is what the meaning of if not exists in this case. Now what we do here is we will read the first time the database is empty, we cannot directly start retrieving the friends and so on. So in the first case what we do is we will try to read one Twitter account, and that Twitter account's information we try to read. Okay, so I just give an example. Let us say that first we use input statement, and then we will ask user to enter the Twitter account. So what I do here is I will create one more file here. Let us assume that first of all, what is the people table looks like, or how people table look like. It will be consisting of id, and the second one is name, and then the third one is retrieved, ret I will write it, or okay. So this is how actually it looks like. Now what is the next thing we need to see here is there is one more table called as follows. How this thing looks like is from id, that is the thing, and the second one is to id. These are the two things are present in this case. Now let us assume that we will read the screen name, that is the name as Mahesh. Okay, assume the screen name is Mahesh here. Particular thing stored into what we can say that this ACCT. So ACCT consisting of what? Mahesh right now. Now what we see here is whether this particular thing is equivalent to quit. Whether Mahesh is equivalent to quit? No. So it will not go to this particular if block. What is length of Mahesh? That is account. It is 6. Whether 6 is less than 1? No. So definitely it will not enter this if block. I will come to this if block later. Where it goes? It goes to else block. What it does in else block? Cursor.execute. Select id from people where name is equivalent to account and get only one row. That's the first row. Limit 1 is nothing but the first row. So name is equivalent to ACCT. ACCT is nothing but what? In this case Mahesh. So select id from people where name is equivalent to Mahesh. Whether there is something is present into your table right now. So nothing is present in your table. So what do we need to do? It will not. We try to execute the try block. In try block, we try to get the first value of this thing. First value is nothing but what? ID we are trying to extract. So because nothing is returned in this particular cursor, definitely the try will not be executed successfully. It will go here. Now what actually it does? It will insert or ignore. I will come to this or ignore later. So insert into people name retrieved. What is name? Name is nothing but what? The first attribute, and retrieved is the second attribute. Values question mark 0. Question mark is nothing but what? It is associated with name, and 0 is nothing but retrieved. So what is the value of question mark? That is nothing but ACCT. What is ACCT? Mahesh in this case. So insert into people Mahesh and 0. So once you do that particular thing, so first of all ID will be auto incremented. So this will be 1 here, and then it will be Mahesh, and then this value will be set to 0 here. So this is the first thing happens here. And then connection dot commit, the meaning is it will be stored into database successfully, and then it will go to what we can say that the next one, id is equivalent to current rows cur, that is current dot last row id. What is last row id here? What is last row id? That is 1. So that will be set to id. So this is the name is equivalent to, or ACCT is equivalent to Mahesh, and id is equivalent to what? 1 in this case. So this is what actually happens in the first iteration. So later we need all these things, so that's the reason I'm writing it over here. This is the first table, second table, what is happening in between I'll writing over here. Now this particular thing is done. So what is the next thing? We are trying to use twurl dot augment, and then we are trying to pass Twitter URL, that's a standard Twitter URL as a parameter to it, and then the second parameter is the dictionary of type dictionary type consisting of screen name and then the count. So for time being, assume that I want to extract only 2 friends information. It will be a bit difficult if I write 100 over here. Screen name is ACCT. What is ACCT? Mahesh. What is count? 2 friends information I want to extract. And then along with that the security keys will be appended to it. You will get the complete URL. That URL is present in URL variable. Display that particular retrieving account for him, and what is the URL also. If you want to display that particular thing, you can display it. Now you got the complete URL. What we can do, we can use the URL lib.request.url open, and then open that particular URL. So what is the URL here? The URL in this case is the complete URL, standard URL, screen name is Mahesh, I want to extract 2 friends information, and security keys were added. Open that particular URL, read the content and decode it and store it into data. So what is available in data? 2 friends information is available. Now when you have 2 friends information, what we need to do? It is in the form of JSON. So we need to load that particular data with the help of loads function of JSON and store it into JS. Okay, so once you load this particular data is consisting of 2 friends information, and if you load that particular data into JS with the help of loads function, the 2 friend information is present in a variable called as JS. Next, what I need to do, I need to check whether it has returned any users or not, or Mahesh has any friends or not. If he has a friends, users will be there. If users is not present in JS, the meaning of this one is he does not have any friends, he is not following anyone. So that's what the meaning of this one. Okay, if users is present, what I need to do, I need to update the retrieved value. So that is cur.execute update people table we need to update. Set the retrieved is equivalent to 1, where name is equivalent to ACCT. What is ACCT? ACCT in this case is equivalent to Mahesh. So name is equivalent to Mahesh, and set the retrieved value to 1. So why I need to set the retrieved value to 1 is I have retrieved the friends of Mahesh already. So I don't need to set it to 0 now. I need to set the retrieved value to 1. Now what I need to do, whatever the friends I have retrieved, okay, let us assume that the friends are, so friends are, you can say that Rahul, that is the first friend, and Sachin is the second friend. So these are the 2 friends I have extracted. Now what I need to do, okay, I need to put those particular friends into that particular table. So because this table contains only Mahesh, now we need to insert his friends also. So what I do here, I'll go to this particular for loop. Initially count new is equivalent to 0, count old is equivalent to 0. How many new friends are there? How many old friends are there? So we get u of u in JS of users, we get the users in u. U of screen name will give you the first friend. What is the first friend in this case? Rahul. So it will be this is the first friend value. So first friend value is equal to Rahul. Okay. Now what is the next thing? Print that particular friend name. We have done it. What is the next thing? cur.execute select id from people. We need to select id from people table, where name is equal to what? Friend in this case. So what is the friend name? Rahul. Okay. So we try to select id from people where name is equal to Rahul. Whether there is something called as Rahul in this particular table? No, it is not present. So because it is not present, we cannot get this particular fetch one will not be executed successfully. That is try block will not be executed successfully. it will go to except block. So what we are trying to do here is, we are trying to check whether the Rahul is already present in the table or not. If it is already present, we don't need to do anything. We need to increment the old friend value by 1. If it is not present, we need to insert it. So that is what we are doing here in the except block. cur.execute, insert into people, name and retrieved. What is name? Friend. What is the retrieved value? 0 here. So that is what actually we are trying to insert. So what I do here, it will be auto incremented, it will get 2 here, and then what is the next thing is, we need to insert the Rahul here, and then what is the retrieved value? It will be set to 0 in this case. And then the friend ID is equivalent to what? Okay, connection commit. Friend ID is equivalent to what? Current, that is cur dot last row ID. What is last row ID here? 2. So that will be nothing but the friend ID. So friend ID, I'll write it here. That is Rahul friend ID. What is that? Friend ID, which is equivalent to what? 2 here. Now after that, what we do? Count new is equivalent to count new plus 1. So what was the count new? 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. So one new friend was there. So who is that? Rahul. Next, what we do? cur.execute, insert into follows. Follows table, we need to insert something. What is that? From ID to ID. What is from ID? That's ID. What is to ID? That is friend ID. What is ID? ID of the Mahesh, that is 1. What is the friend ID? 2. So 1 will be inserted here, that is Mahesh's ID, and 2 ID is Rahul's ID, that will be inserted over here. So this is how actually the insertion takes place. Now what will happen? It will go back. It will go back to this particular users again. It will get the next friend name. Who is the next friend? Next friend is Sachin. So this one will be come. Okay. I'll set it over here. He will be the second friend. Okay, and then Sachin is the next friend. So what it does is, it will be printed here, and then we are trying to select ID from people where name is equal to friend. Who is friend? Sachin. So whether Sachin is already present into the table? No, Sachin is not present into the table. So again, this try block will not be executed successfully. It will go here, insert into people, name and retrieved. Name is Sachin, that is friend name, and then retrieved is equal to 0. So here auto incremented, it will be 3 in this case. So Sachin will be inserted here, and then the value will be equivalent to retrieved value is equal to 0. After that, connection will be completed. Friend ID is the last row ID. What is last row ID? 3. So friend ID in this case, friend ID is equivalent to, that is Sachin's ID is equivalent to what? 3 in this case. Now what is the next thing we do? We count will be incremented. Previously it was 1, now it is equivalent to 2 because Rahul was inserted and Sachin 2. So it is total 2. Insert into follows. In follows table we insert. What is that? From ID to ID. What is from ID? That is ID of Mahesh. What is friend ID? Friend ID is 3 in this case because Sachin's ID is 3. So 1 will be inserted here, and then the Sachin's ID is equivalent to 3, that will be inserted over here. Now what happens? It will go back here. There are no new friends are present. So it will go back, and then it starts executing here. If we enter any username here, again that will be like the ACCT. If you don't enter anything here, for example, if you enter quit, it will come out of this particular loop. If you don't enter anything, the length of that particular ACCT will be equivalent to what? Definitely less than 1. We have not entered anything. So the ACCT length will be 0. 0 is less than 1. It will go here, and then it will execute the if block here. So previously it was directly entered into else block because we have entered the username. What was the username we have entered in this case? The Mahesh. So right now we have not entered. So if you don't enter, it will go to if block. So if block, what it does is, it will select ID from ID and name, both ID and name, from people where retrieved is equivalent to 0. Because we don't know, you can say that whose name or whose friends we need to retrieve. So we will try to retrieve one row, that is limit is equivalent to 1. I think you can see here. So we are trying to retrieve ID and name, both ID and name, from this particular table where retrieved is equivalent to 0. So what is that? What will be returned to you? This will be returned to you. So why this will be returned to you? Only one row we are trying to retrieve, and this is the row where retrieve is set to 0 here. So that will be returned to you. Now once it is returned to you, we can fetch that row's information. So what we have fetched? ID and name. ID will be stored into ID, and name will be stored into ACCT. So what is ACCT in the second iteration? Second iteration ACCT is equivalent to Rahul here. Okay, so previously what was ACCT? Mahesh. Now it is equivalent to Rahul. And what is ID is equivalent to? ID is, in the previous case it was 1, now ID is equivalent to 2. Why? This one was retrieved, this entire thing was retrieved, these two, and ID is stored into ID, you can see here. So whatever is extracted, ID is stored into ID, the name is stored into ACCT. So once you get this part, I think it will not go to except block. If you don't have any everything, for example, all friends were friends were retrieved, so everything will be set to 1. In such case, it will go here and it says that no unretrieved Twitter accounts are there. So right now there is 1, so it will execute here. So it will not go to else block, directly it will come to this line. So what it does here, twurl.augment, Twitter URL, that is standard URL, screen name, that is Rahul here, and then count is equal to 2. His 2 friends will be extracted. Okay, so now we will open this URL, we read the content, we decode it, we got the 2 friends of Rahul, and then we load that particular data and then check whether there are any friends are there or not, because we want 2 friends of Rahul. If Rahul does not have any friends, it will be definitely not in JS, users will not be present in JS, so incorrect JSON received in that case. Okay, so if he has a friends, so what we do here is we will update his row, that is update people table, set retrieved equal to 1, where name is equal to ACCT. What is ACCT? ACCT in this case is what? ACCT is Rahul. His retrieved value should be set to 1. What is the meaning of this one? His friends are already extracted. Now once his friends are extracted, what is the next thing we need to do? We need to check whether the extracted friend is a new friend or he is a old friend. If he is a new friend, insert into table. If he is an old friend, we need to say that it is already present into the table. So that's the thing we need to do. So what we do, we will read one friend, and then one friend will be put into friends variable. So let us say that this Rahul's friend, or can say Rahul's friend is, I will remove this particular thing here. This is the thing, and this one, these 2 are friends of Mahesh. So let us say that Rahul's friend is Rohit. Okay, now what will happen? Rahul's friend is Rohit, so Rohit will be printed here. So select ID from people where name is equal to friend. What is Rahul's friend? Rohit. Whether Rohit is present into your people table? No, it is not present. If you check it out, Rohit is not present here. So what will happen? So this try will not be executed successfully. It will go here. So what will happen in this case? So insert into people name. What is name? Friend's name. Friend name is Rohit. Retrieved will be 0. So Rohit 0 will be inserted. So here it will go back and then auto incremented. Here Rohit will be added and then it will be 0 here. So what is the meaning of that? One more row was inserted. So now what is the next thing we need to do? We need to increment, we need to get the last row ID. What is the last row ID here? That is 4. So last row ID will be set to what? Friend ID. So friend ID, that is Rohit ID, is equal to 4 here. Now it will go back to this particular thing. Here what we need to do? We need to increment the new friend. A new friend is incremented by 1, and then insert into follows. Insert into follows table. What I need to insert? From ID to ID. What is from ID? That is ID. What is to ID? That is friend ID. What is ID right now? ID right now is 2, and 2 ID, that is a friend ID, is 4. So 2 will be inserted, that is the thing here, and his friend is what? His friend is Rohit, whose ID is what? 4 in this case. So 4 will be inserted here. Now coming back to this particular, it will come back over here, it will get the next, you can say that the friend. Assume that the next friend of, you can say that Rahul is, you can say that Mahesh, or you can say that Sachin, you can say. So let us say that Sachin is the friend of Rahul. So Rahul is the main name and his friend is Rohit, that's the first friend. Second friend is Sachin. So what will happen? We try to get the ID of Sachin. So select ID from people where name is equal to Sachin. Whether Sachin is present here? Yes, Sachin is present. What is the ID? 3. So it will get the ID here. So current dot fetch 1, that is ID. So friend ID is equal to what? 3 here. So what is the friend ID? Now it is 3, because 3 is the ID of Sachin. Now count old is incremented by 1. Old friend is equal to 1 now. and then this except block will not be executed, this line will be executed. Insert into follows from ID. What is from ID? From ID is ID, that is the Rahul's ID. Friend ID is what? The current friend ID. So Rahul ID is what? 2, and his friend ID is Sachin ID is 3. So 2 is Rahul's ID, and then his friend ID, that is Sachin ID, is 3. So this is how actually we can understand the relationship between these two things. And then it will go back. We don't have any new friends. It will go back here, and then it will either read the new username, or it will get the, if you don't enter anything, it will get the first row which was not retrieved. What is the next row which is not retrieved? Sachin. And then the same procedure will be repeated for Sachin also. So at the end of the day, we will get one table where people information is present, consisting of ID, that is the primary key, name of the friend, or can say that the user, and his friends were retrieved or not retrieved. And there is something called as a follows table, which consisting of the name of a person and his friend's ID is present. Okay, so ID of a person and his friend's ID is present as a second column, and so on. This is how actually this particular program works. I hope this particular concept is quite clear. It is a bit confusing, but if you go through this particular program line by line, you can easily understand this particular program. Now coming back to our explanation, there are some things we need to remember here, like we have noticed a few things in that particular program also. Let us say that constraint in database tables, like as we have designed our table structures, we can tell the database system that we would like to enforce a few rules on that particular table. These rules help us from making mistakes or introducing incorrect data into our tables. For example, we have inserted a particular row into the table, and if you try to insert again that particular row into the table, definitely you will end up with violation of primary key or unique key error. Why? Because that name should be unique. If you are already inserted and you are trying to insert one more time, definitely you will end up with the incorrect value. So that is the possibility, because this table looks like the name field is unique. You cannot insert a multiple number of rows with the same name. The same thing goes here. We cannot insert multiple number of rows with from ID and to ID same. That is 1 1 1 1. You cannot insert. One is from ID, two ID is 1. From ID is 1 and to ID is 1. You cannot insert two rows, something like that. Okay. So how can we avoid that particular thing is, we have already introduced or included that thing in our program. I'll just explain it, how can we do that thing. So that thing can be done with adding this particular thing. You can see here, there is something called as, while inserting name and retrieved, that is, the name is a unique key, okay, unique attribute. So when you are inserting this particular thing, we use or ignore. What it does, we try to insert the name and retrieved. Let us say that Mahesh and 0 initially. Okay, it will be inserted successfully because it is not present. Now let us say that I'll try to insert one more time Mahesh 1. It will generate a error. Why? The Mahesh is already present into the database table. So that thing should not happen. So how to avoid that particular thing? That can be avoided using what we can say that ignore or ignore. So if it is already present, unique value is already present, ignore that particular thing, don't insert it. So that is what actually we are saying here. Rather than generating a error, it will ignore that particular insertion. So that is the simple way of avoiding any mistakes from our end. Similarly, for the follows table also, while inserting some data into follows table, from ID and to ID, if that particular from ID to ID combination is already present, we don't want to insert it. So in such case, we use or ignore again here. Okay, so if you use this or ignore, it will not be inserted into the database table. So this is how actually it looks like. Okay, I think it is quite clear. Next thing is retrieve and or insert a record. So what is that constraint? When we prompt the user for a Twitter account, if the account exists, we must look up for its ID, as we have already seen it. So whenever we try to fetch the friend's information, first what we do is whether that particular person is already present into the database or not. So if it is present into the database, extract that particular ID. Okay, if it is not present, insert that particular person into database, and then get the ID. So that is how actually we do. Okay, if it is already present, what we do, we retrieve that particular ID. If it is not present into the database, so what we do, we first insert that particular information into the database, and then we retrieve the ID of that particular person. So that is what is called as retrieve directly, or you can say that insert and then retrieve that particular ID. Okay, so that is what actually we have done in that particular program. If you have seen it carefully, what we have done here is, if you see this particular thing, we are trying to if you go with a friends table, you can easily understand this thing. So what we are trying to do is, we are trying to extract the friends ID here. If it is already present, it will be try block will be executed successfully. If that particular friend is not present, what we do, first we insert it, and then we try to get the ID of that particular person. So this is how actually we are trying to get the ID. So somehow we need to get the ID. If you just use this try block, if it is not present, you don't get the ID. So if it is present, retrieve it. If it is not present, insert it and then retrieve it. So that is what actually that particular line is saying. Okay, so this kind of constraint we need to use when we write a program. That is what actually has been shown over here. If you want, you can just check it out once again. What we are trying to do, or ignore constraint has been used over here. Insert or ignore ID, and then there is one more thing. Whenever we insert storing a friends relationship, again that thing we need to do. If that particular friends information is already present, we need to ignore one more insertion into that particular thing. So if you insert it one more time, it's a violation of a unique key in that particular database table. So that thing we need to avoid somehow. So that can be avoided with the help of or ignore command. This is how actually we can execute the program. So initially we can give the friend's name, and then, or you can say that the quit. Initially we have not entered anything here. It means that it shows that no unretrieved Twitter accounts found, because initially the database is empty, nothing will be present, and if you don't enter any username, definitely we will not be able to get any rows which were not retrieved. So definitely it will give you an error, no unretrieved Twitter accounts found. The second case we are executing, we put the username. The username is Dr. Check in this case. So what happens is 20 new friends were retrieved, and then 0 revisited or old friends. So 20 friends were be inserted. In my explanation, I have taken 2 friends. Okay, and then in the next execution, we don't enter anything. So what happens here is, out of these 20, one friend will be considered at a time, and their friends will be extracted. Okay, if they are already present into the table, they will not be inserted again. If they are not present, they will be inserted into the table. So there are 17 friends who are not present, so they will be inserted into the table, and there are 3 friends who are already present into the table, so their relationship will be updated into the follows table, and so on for the remaining things here. And this is how actually the output will look like. The same output I have shown in with a normal tracing over here. So this is what actually I am trying to show over there also. This is how actually we can understand this particular concept. There is one more thing I just wanted to tell you before I wind up this particular lecture. Actually, we have seen something called as primary key many a times in this particular explanation. So usually there are 3 kind of keys in SQLite. One is called as a logical key, the second one is called as primary key, and then the third one is called as something called as foreign key. Okay, what is a logical key? Logical key is actually the unique key. It will not be something called as a repeated value, but it is not a primary key. Okay, so that is what actually you can understand. You can assume something like a real world primary key. Logical key is something like a real world primary key. So what is the real world primary key we have in our explanation? If you see the people's table, we have 3 things: ID, name, and retrieved. ID is what? Primary key. It is an integer number. It is a primary key. We don't update that particular thing. It will be updated internally. So that is not, we can say that, a logical key. That's a perfect primary key. What about name? Name is a real world, you can say that a primary key, or you can say logical key in this case. Why it's a logical key? it is a unique one, and each of these particular rows are addressed using this particular name field. So definitely it is a logical key in this case. Now coming back to the next one, primary key. What is primary key? Primary key is usually a number which will be automatically assigned by the database, and it will be incremented as and when we insert some rows into that particular table. Okay, so that is the primary key. What is the example for a primary key in our program? ID is the primary key. What is the next one? Foreign key. What is foreign key? So foreign key is nothing but the attribute which points to the primary key into the associated table, or in a different table. For example, uh, from ID, that is from ID is present in if you look at this particular table. So from ID is present in follows table. This is the foreign key because it is pointing to the primary key of what we can say that ID. So from ID will become the foreign key for the people's table, and the primary key of people's table is ID in this case. So that is what actually the foreign key is all about. Okay, so foreign key points to the primary key of an associated row in a different table. So that is what the foreign key is all about. So in this video I have explained what is data modeling, how can we divide a single table into multiple number of table, and then we can establish the relationship between that particular multiple number of tables. Along with that, I have given one a programming example to understand how can we create multiple tables, and then establish connection between those tables, and then at the end of the day we can display the information in a proper manner. That program was explained with we can say that proper can say that examples I have taken. So I hope the concept is clear. If you like the video, do like and share with your friends. Press the subscribe button for more videos. Press the bell icon for regular updates. Thank you for watching.